Everybody, good afternoon. Happy Sunday. Let me sit down. How are we doing? Buenas tardes. Kathy Hubbard. Wow. So early, so beautiful. Tiffany Kane. Hey, girl. Tammy Flynn. Ellis. Everyone is here. Yes. So can you all hear me well? I am trying out my Surface again. I'm taking the chance. My Surface is the one that used to make the little cracking crazy sound. So my son, did some technological things to it, and he says it's going to work. So let me know if you can hear me well, and if there is that crazy cracking sound. And if it isn't, then let's go ahead with it. And if it is, just let me know, because I'm so excited, because finally I get to use my Surface again. It has the brightest colors, it has the clearest pictures. So I'm just so excited. Let me see. All right. If no one is saying that they're hearing anything, then I guess we could get started. So buenas tardes. My name is Dr. Lulu. How is everyone doing? Did y'all survive your St. Patrick's Day? I'm wearing my St. Patrick's Day and attempt. Anyway, I wear my St. Patrick's Day colors today. So let me see if you guys can see that. You see all my green? Hi, Frances. So I will say all my hellos at the end, like I started doing recently, and I think this one is being seen. So, but anyway, let's get started. So today's topic is none other than PTSD in children, facts and figures. And as you all know, I tend to, hi, Mom. Hi, everyone. Oh, my goodness, we've got a full house already. So I'm going to get started. So as you all know, my name is Dr. Lulu. I'm a national keynote speaker on teen depression, suicide, and bullying. Special mention of bullying, because in my book, I believe that bullying is the #1 cause of suicide in children and teens and young adults. The science is still trying to catch up with me, because they still think it's mental illness. But I believe, with my little research that I've done in the past 6 to 12 months, it is nothing but bullying that is causing these kids to take their lives. So I'm a national keynote speaker on those two things as they affect our children and our teens and young adults. But today I'm talking about PTSD in children, facts and figures. And it is obviously in the wake of Miss Sydney Ayello. I promised I wasn't going to say the name wrong. I think it should be Ayello, but it's pronounced Ayello. Sydney Ayello, 19-year-old. She just turned 19 too in January. Survivor of the, don't remind me, Marjorie something man Douglas High School in Florida. I didn't want to look, but I have to. I want to get that name right. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida, Parkland, the Parkland area of Florida. So about almost, not even a year yet. Okay, I'm hearing some good stuff. You can hear me very well. Amen, amen. Fantastic. So let's get started. So if you have anyone who is a mom, a dad, a grandparent, if you're a mom, if your sister is a mom, take a second to tag them. Hope my hair is not going to show out today. Take a second to tag them and let's get started, okay? I'm so excited that no cracking. Amen, amen. I'm back. I'm using my Surface, my beloved Surface, and you can see the picture. If you're on my regular page, you can see the bright colors of the back. I love my Surface so much. The pictures are so clear. I love me some Microsoft. So anyway, let's get started. So what is PTSD? If you can hear me loud and clear, take a jab at it. I think everyone pretty much knows what PTSD is, but take a jab at it. Who can type in what PTSD stands for? Hi, Glenn. Who can take a jab at what PTSD stands for? 4 letters that stand for, you guessed it, post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder. So essentially, the history of PTSD, I think it started in the 1980s, when they discovered that survivors of the post-traumatic, yes, exactly, thank you, survivors of the Vietnam War were coming home and having these symptoms of agitation and moodiness and fear and anxiety and all kinds of other behaviors in the survivors of the war. And then I guess subsequently, I think in the 90s, they started discovering that children also exhibit the symptoms suggestive of PTSD. And they're like, what, how? And then they went back and started looking, and they found out that it is mostly after they've been exposed to traumatic stressors, which of course we understand that. In this case, this child had been through a school shooting, a very violent event that becoming almost a daily occurrence in our lives these days. School shooting in which her friend, her very close friend, was killed. 17 people died in that school shooting. It was a former student. No one really knows what provoked him, but he came into the school and opened fire, and 17 students died as a result. And this girl's friend was one of them. And so so her mother said that she was going through survivor's guilt, which apparently is a thing, and it makes sense that the child was going through survivor's guilt. So someone please write down the words survivor's guilt for me. That's what this little girl was going through, survivor's guilt for me. Okay, thank you. And so what are the stressors? What are these stressors that we talk about? It's about the same in adults as well as in children. The symptoms that, or rather the stressors that cause it, about the same in adults and children. So the first one they mentioned here is violent crime. And I'm going to go with, like, I guess armed robbery is a violent crime. Anyone that survives that, it's a major stressor. You know, I know it will stress me out. And you all know me, I'm a chicken. School shooting, as in this case, of course, sexual abuse, rape, violent raping, especially gang raping. I mean, really any kind of rape, but especially gang raping, any kind of violent raping, acute onset, or rather a sudden death of a loved one. If you could please write these symptoms, these stressors down for me. So violent crime, school shooting, sexual assault, especially rape, and violent kind of raping, gang rape, especially the sudden death of a loved one. I think the death of a loved one, period, is a stressor, but I guess sudden means they didn't get a chance to say hello, goodbye, and you didn't get a chance for closure. And I can understand how that can be a big problem. Plane or car crashes, survivors of plane or car crashes, if there's ever any survivor of a plane crash, that is so major. I'm a big chicken when I'm flying. Just the ordinary turbulence gets me all wired up. And when I land, I'm like, oh my God, my nerves are shot. I know my friend Glenn is watching. Glenn is a big time flyer. I was talking to him this weekend about what his frequent flyer miles can be like, you know, but I'm a big chicken. I'm so scared of flying that if there's just a little bit of turbulence, I'm already like shaking and getting the bag and breathing and all that. So I can imagine how someone who survives a plane crash can be. I survived the car crash when I was in med school, but I'm still here. So everyone is different. So physical assault is there. Emotional abuse make the cut, and for good reason. Nigerian parents, listen up. All that calling your kids names, which I am a bit guilty of, but all that calling of your kids names, Omo Jati Jati, Omo Ale, Konida Fue, Kete Baba Ukogi, and all those things, they're not good. They're not good because apparently they cause stress to the child, and depends on the child, of course, right? But yes, indeed, it does happen. Terrorist attacks make the cut, and for good reason. If you survive a terrorist attack, I know for a fact that that's not a good thing. If you're just joining me, we're talking about PTSD in children, facts and figures. I see my friend Marieke just joined. Jeffrey Anthony's in the building. Andre Jeffries is in the building. So we're talking about PTSD in children, facts and figures this afternoon. So if you have any parents who are your friends, please, 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 please call them, text them, tag them, have them join in, and let's talk, okay? So mention some of the most frequent things. I saved the best for last. If you all know me, you know every month or every other month I'm talking about bullying. I believe, and I don't know why bullying did not make the cut, but I believe that bullying most definitely is a cause of stress. And therefore, for those children who end up taking their lives because of bullying, you can see how the frequent bullying and the repeated bullying could have caused them stress, and therefore they are survivors or not survivors of bullying. I don't know why bullying did not make the cut. I looked at like 5 or 6 different websites and blogs, and I did not find one single one that mentioned bullying by name. They mentioned all the things that happened during bullying, but they did not mention bullying. So yes, I'm putting bullying out there. Bullying, most definitely, most definitely. I have someone giving me a lot of love. Oh my goodness, thank you. I'm not sure, I can't see your picture from here. It's Andrea Jeffries. Thank you so much, girl. Thank you. So y'all need to give me some love if I'm moving the stuff, as you know how your sister is. I love some loves and I love some hearts and I love some thumbs up. But yeah, definitely bullying definitely is a cause of PTSD. I'm going to say it again. Somebody write down bullying for me, please. Bullying should have been number one in children anyway, and even in adults. We had a nurse that took her life recently. And what was the reason? Bullying at work. So bullying, definitely. Anything that can make you take your life, that can put you in such a state that you consider suicide or even complete suicide, certainly should make the cut. And as we saw just now, Miss Sydney didn't survive it, even though she didn't come from bullying, but that was a major stressor for her. So apparently 40%, somebody please type down 40% for me, 40% of high school kids who were, I guess questioned, actually reported that they had experienced domestic abuse or domestic violence or community violence, excuse me. So community violence, I believe, is a big, big reason, especially in the inner city, in the African American, or maybe even not only African, just low socioeconomic areas. Community abuse or community violence can definitely be a big one when there's drive-by shootings and all kinds of crimes and all kinds of it's just so unsafe. So definitely I can understand how community violence could be a big cause. So 40% of high school kids actually admitted to having lived through that. And 3 to 6% of the children who were questioned, 3 to 6% of them had experienced PTSD. That is a lot of children. If you imagine how many high schools there are, 40%, which is almost 50%, and 3 to 6% of those, that is a lot of children. So someone please type in 40% of high school kids and 3 to 6% of them have had PTSD. Terrible. So essentially the symptoms are in 3 categories, okay? The first one is, and for those of you who know me or don't know me, I'm a big chicken when it comes to scary movies. So apparently, scary movies, I put that in there because I am yes. And I don't know why I still watch them, but I do. I went this weekend to go watch Us. Thankfully, it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be, but still, you think maybe I'll learn my lesson. But I went to go watch Us. So scary movies, because the first major symptom is persistent re-experiencing of the trauma. Persistent re-experiencing of the trauma. And Andres says that she's also a scaredy cat. Yes, I'm a big time chicken. I'll be the first to say it. And yet I go watch those crazy movies. So persistent re-experiencing of the trauma. And that makes a lot of sense. For those of us who are chickens, when we watch, I didn't watch it, but just hearing about it, and I think I might have seen the preview, I'm still reliving it today. So yes, reliving and re-experiencing those traumatic symptoms, having flashbacks, having persistent thoughts. Of course, it makes sense, especially when they're exposed to the experience, when they're re-exposed to the people, to the environment, to the thoughts, to the pictures. Absolutely, I can see how that can be a problem. And then, like my wife now, she survived a war in Liberia when she was a child, when she was a youth. And to this date, that chica will not go to 4th of July anything. She cannot handle the sound of firecrackers. She cannot handle the sound of fireworks. Yes, so she is definitely a living example of someone who has PTSD. She lived through a war in Liberia. And so if you're feeling me, give me a high five. Hi, Musa Babashani. Good. I'll talk to you in a minute. But yes, so avoidance of traumatic events or traumatic reminders is a second symptom. So people who have been through PTSD tend to avoid anything that will remind them of that event. And it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. They don't want to be around that. If you've been raped by someone, especially in this America of today, where if they're white males, I'm going to come out and say it, they tend to either get a reduced sentence or not get any sentence at all. Imagine if you are a victim of that, and then that person is sent back into the community. Of course, or if they arrest the wrong person, arrest the one black guy who happens to live in the neighborhood, and then the white guy is still out there, or vice versa, whoever. If that person is still out there and you're still being exposed to that individual, I can see how that can keep the stress. It's like you have a scab and you keep picking the scab. That wound is never going to heal. That one is never going to heal. So avoidance of the traumatic reminders, like my wife now and 4th of July, she avoids it. As much fun as it is, she will go, but once they start the firecrackers, she actually literally has autonomic symptoms. She starts having shakes and starts sweating. And so we just said to her, you know what, we don't want to put her through that anymore. So she doesn't go with us to 4th of July events. They avoid the places, they avoid conversations, you know. As you can imagine, if you've been through something like a plane crash, anytime there's another plane crash and people are talking about it in the news, you're not going to want to hear about it. So yes. And chronic hyperarousal was a third symptom. Chronic hyperarousal, like sleep disturbances, like nightmares, like decrease in concentration, having issues with focusing, just being hypervigilant of any kind of threat. Oh my goodness. If you imagine if you survived a tsunami or an earthquake, you know, anytime you hear about an earthquake, you will not be the happiest person in the room. So it makes a lot of sense. I wanted to mention those three things and then mention real quick that, as a matter of fact, most normal people, when they go through this kind of event, do have some degree of post-traumatic stress. Okay? Most normal people do go through that. However, what happens is the difference is for those who end up having the disorder, it lasts longer than a month and lasts and lasts and lasts. Not that there should be ideally any time for you to grieve or for you to feel pain or you experience distress. Ideally, I don't think that's fair to say that, okay, you should only have it for a month. However, if it lasts and lasts and lasts, and if it causes impairment, in other words, if it's affecting your daily life, like my wife now, she will not go to 4th of July anything where there's firecrackers or where there are fireworks. So an example like that, you know, so that's causing impairment and is affecting her life, her life around 4th of July. You know what I mean? So that is PTSD. And yes, and I understand it because she lived through a war. My mother was a firefighter in the war. I know to this day she still has hearing loss in one ear from that experience during the war. And of course, if we start talking about war, she may not tell me, but I'm sure it doesn't bring up fun memories for her. So what makes someone who has PTSD, or in the case of this girl, who has survivor's guilt, what makes them go to the next level and start contemplating suicide, or in her own case, actually complete suicide? We're going to talk about that in a minute. But other symptoms that children experience are regression of milestones. This is so big. And if you're a pediatrician or a pediatric care provider, nurse, anything like that watching me, please give me a high five, because this is something that I know. When a patient is brought to me, okay, I'm just going to pick up as just a 6-year-old girl who was doing fine, right? She was fine. And all of a sudden she starts regressing. And I'm going to use an example, starts wetting herself, or starts having a bowel movement on herself, or starts acting differently. What do you think I'm thinking? Who can guess what do you think my first thought is in a child who was otherwise okay, until recently we noticed that she's pooping on herself, or she's having hard time sleeping, she's having nightmares. Okay, we can go with 8 years old just to keep us safe. She's suddenly having nightmares and experiencing. Who can guess what is my first thought as her pediatric care provider? You guessed it. Child abuse. Yes, absolutely. Someone is messing with that girl. All of a sudden, she starts having a bowel movement on herself, something that she's already gone past, that she's already potty trained. She starts suddenly regressing. I was so happy when I saw that as one of the symptoms in children. And that's one of the things I was going to say. In adults, they tend to have different symptoms. In children, they have different symptoms. One of the symptoms in children is regression of milestones. Please give me a high five or a thumbs up if you're watching me. This is major. A child who was otherwise potty trained suddenly starts having a boo-boo on herself. That is not good. I am thinking child abuse until thy kingdom went, right? And then, of course, reactivation of fears. Like they just, I guess, become more clingy, or they start talking about the event and just being hyper, what's the word I'm looking at? They feel compelled to talk about it, or they keep talking about it, and it's just like they keep having flashbacks about it. Then what's this one? I can't even read my handwriting. Is that reckless behavior? Yes. In teenagers especially, if your daughter who is 14, who was an angel, suddenly starts, I don't know, becoming sexually promiscuous, for instance, reckless behavior, right? What do you think has happened? She has been molested or he has been molested. Investigate that, because as you all know, that is a cause of stress in children and PTSD in children. So yes, that child has been molested. Absolutely. I'm going to say yes. Separation anxiety. All of a sudden, your child who used to like to stay with her babysitter or his babysitter now is crying when you're leaving to go to work. Is now clingy when you're leaving to go to work. I have a problem with that. Check that. Check that. Check your hidden camera. Someone has been messing with your kid, as an example. And yes, I'm picking on child abuse and rape and molestation because, as you all know, that to me is the worst thing you can do to a child, is to molest them sexually. I will find a way to kill you if I could get away with it. I will find a way to do it. I cannot handle that. Another thing that the children also present with other symptoms are ADHD symptoms. They become hyperactive, they become, maybe anxious, they are no longer able to focus. Think about that as a possibility, that the child has been exposed to a lot of stress. So those are the symptoms. If you're just joining us for the first time, we're talking about PTSD in children, facts and figures. Not so much figures, but a lot of facts for sure. So yeah, we talked about the fact that it is normal to be stressed out after you've been through a stressful event. However, it's not normal for it to last and last and last. And unfortunately, the DSM says 1 month. I'm like, there should be no limits to when or how long you should be stressing, but that's what they say. Okay, so of course, the first thing and the only thing you should do is take your child to the doctor. Bring that kid to come see me. Go see Dr. Free. Go see all the doctors that are watching me. Absolutely. Go see a doctor to get a proper diagnosis and a proper referral to the right person. They might have to call the POPO if there's a child abuse suspicion. They might have to call the social services. So just get with the right person, i.e. your pediatrician. Start with that, or family care provider, family practitioner. But get with them, okay? And so the 3 things that we focus on are the intensity of symptoms in the child. I mean, not the 3 things, but the one thing that we focus on is intensity of symptoms in the child. But the 3 main people that we talk to are the child themselves, if they can talk, if they can draw pictures, if they can write in their journal or something like that. The parents, of course, we get an input from the parents or the caregivers. And of course, the teachers as well, the schools. Always think school. Think school. I believe that teachers are all in all. They are extended parents. They are everything to us. So absolutely, always think about the school and involve the school in anything that you're doing. Okay. And so, what makes one child go through a stressful event and another child go through the same stressful event, and then one child succumbs to it and the other child doesn't? Apparently, there are specific neurochemicals in your brain. You don't want to know, and I'm not going to mention them, but there are specific neurotransmitters in your brain that make one person be more likely to experience that than the other. Okay, so of course, with regards to treatment, there's CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, aka counseling or therapy. Yes, Black folk, I said it. Counseling or therapy. Yes, Nigerians, I said it. Counseling or therapy. Your child might need counseling or therapy. Okay, please. And then of course there are medications, but the medications are only if the child has symptoms suggestive of like depression or anxiety, stuff that we can treat. And then for me, if I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to talk about the fact that what about at home? What can you do at home as a parent? You have to be present. We always talk about this. You have to know your child so that when your child is exhibiting different behaviors, you want to know what's going on, what's going on with your kid. Yes, absolutely. And therefore, you want to be supportive and understanding. Oh my goodness, don't ever tell the child that, no, you're faking it. No, you're telling me a lie because it's your brother, because it's your sister that is the perpetrator. Please, parents, please believe a child that says things like that. The kids are not joking. Kids just don't make that stuff up. You know what? I'm thinking maybe next week we're going to talk about molestation and sexual abuse in kids. Maybe we're going to do that. But yes, please believe the child. Teach them coping mechanisms. Teach them resilience. One of the principles that I talk about in my book, resilience. how to bounce back, and teach them to trust you, to tell you that this kind of thing is happening to them. It might be their teacher at school, it might be the pastor in the church, but just teach them to feel safe enough to come to you and talk to you. Okay, remove them from the environment. If the cell phone causes your child to sin, i.e. cyberbullying, take the cell phone from them. Okay, bullying in any which way should not be encouraged, period. So I say, if the cell phone is causing your child to sin, take out the cell phone. And of course, have access to treatment. Parents, please tell your doctors, please tell your provider, tell someone who can help your child. This is not funny. This is not where you say, oh no, don't worry about it, we're going to pray it out. We're going to pray. We're going to pray about it. Please pray, but pray that God sends you a good doctor like me, a good provider like me. Don't pray that what your child is saying is a lie, or pray that your child stops saying that so that she doesn't embarrass you in public. Please pray, but pray for the right thing, because he does answer prayers, you know. So bottom line is, know your kid. Know your kid and monitor their social media because of bullying, right? So that's all I have for you all today. I'm going to try to keep them at 30 minutes from now on. So we're at 2:26, so that's good. And so essentially, in review, PTSD is real. It happens in children. Be mindful of your kids. Find out from them what's going on. Ask them what's going on. Ask them those tough questions. It's okay. All right? It does happen in children. The three main things they tend to relieve the experiences. They are very afraid. They avoid the experiences. Of course, like we said, they have to avoid the experiences because nobody wants to go back and be exposed to the same guy that molested them. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to watch movies of war if they've been through a war. Nobody wants to hear stories about a plane crash if they've been through a plane crash. If someone's father just died abruptly, nobody, I mean, yes, you might want to talk about it, but just be sensitive of the fact that they might not want to talk about it. Okay. And of course, chronic hyperarousal, like sleep disturbances, concentration issues, just being clingy, just changing their behavior. What is going on? And of course, you need to get with your doctor. Get with your doctor. We should not end up with suicide like little Miss Sydney did this past week. I mean, obviously, we don't know the full story, but just remember that she took her life because she was exposed to a traumatic event, i.e. the school shooting, which, you know, if you don't know that, I have a video on school shooting. Please go back and look it up and I don't know, learn about it or whatever. So, and then last thing was, parents, do your job at home, do your due diligence at home. Make sure that you're there for your kids. Make sure you believe them if they tell you the stories, and the rest is history. So before I let you all go, any questions? Lots of comments. Oh, goodness. Okay, good. I have a lot of comments. Very good. So y'all give me a minute and I'm going to go through the questions in about 2 seconds. So I have Ali Hart says her kid hates school. Is that what? Okay. Ali Hart says that she has a 7-year-old. He started out the blue head of himself. He regressed. He was not abused, but he has symptoms of autism, a strange rash. He had a shot, dental work, also has 2 kids kicked him in the head. But also I thought maybe environment. I live in an old building. Ali Hart, can you do me a favor and get with me offline? You took him to the doctor, thank God. And he hates school. Maybe he was being bullied, but thank God you took him to the doctor. Thank you. But get with me, please, off record, offline, or whatever they call it. We need more advocates. Lauren Brown said that is so true. We have to start from parents, right? You have to believe your child and then do the needful. Absolutely. Yes, we need more advocates. We need more people that's going to be talking about it. We need to silence kills, y'all. Talk saves lives. This is why I talk, you know, absolutely. Lauren Brown says, what are some things we don't think causes PTSD? I kind of went through a comprehensive list. I might have left some things that I'm sure. One of the things that I know that I didn't think about or that was not mentioned is the fact that bullying definitely causes it. Emotional abuse, I know I mentioned that, but that causes it. Verbal abuse causes it, absolutely, because everybody's different. How people handle stresses are different. So you can't say that just because the first child was okay with it, then the second child is going to be okay with it, you know. Maybe neglect, you know, neglect can also cause that. So, but absolutely, I agree with you. So go back and read that. No loud cracking. I'm so excited. Clear picture. Yes. I'm so happy. Let me see who else has a comment. Natalie says, Sister Doc is preaching today. Girl, I went to church, didn't I? Hi, sweetheart. And Francesca says, she can hear me very well. Very good. And so other than that, I'm going to say one last thing. So this is the last week that you can get my book at half off. I know a lot of people have been buying it because of that. Awesome. Half off until the 31st of March, and then it goes back to full price. So please get it now while you can. And if you know anyone who's a parent, please recommend my book to them. It has a lot of good stuff in it. This is the edited, the new version of it. It's not edited, but it's a new version because I changed the back. The back had me up here, but this one has me in the middle. So this is a new version. It's a glossy finish. I think I prefer the glossy. So yes, so please get my book. And also, if you live in San Antonio, Texas, my event is this Saturday. I'm excited, I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm happy, I'm thankful. I'm all of those rolled up into one. I'll see you all on Saturday when it happens. I'm so excited, but don't go yet. Let me say my thank yous and then I'll let you all go. So Neka joined a little late, but welcome, welcome, welcome. My mom, of course, in the building, always there. Obi Obata, hi girl, thank you so much for joining me. Reina Ramish, wow, hi Reina. Glenn Remores was my classmate from school. Thank you, Glenn, for joining me. And he stopped working. Ellis is in the building. Thank you for joining me. Francesca, my mom. Binkbe Onamade, awesome. Hi, Navea Patek. Hey, girl. Spunky Sylvia, hello. Maduem, how are you? Taibat Salawu, very good. Jocelyn Thompson. Hey, Jocelyn. Are you coming on Saturday? I hope you do. Rebecca Chakara, hey girl, I'll see you on Saturday for real. And maybe I'll get my Christmas gifts, right? Lynette Charity, hi sweetheart, for joining me. Thank you so much. Tiffany Kane in the building. Hey girl. Kathy Hubbard. And then it won't go any further. Uh-oh. Sorry about that. If you join me and I didn't call your name, it would not go any further. Thank you all so much for joining me. And Musa Babashani, hey, my goodness, that's my classmate from med school. Awesome, awesome. Dr. Freehes, hey girl. Angela Brewer, hey girl. Let me see, Cynthia Robinson in the building. Veronica Garris. Jonathan Prue, wow. Hi, Jonathan. We missed you in class. Jeffrey Anthony, Marieke, Lynette Charity, and Elena Gary and Tracy Van Field. I think I got everybody. Thank you so much. It's 30 minutes and 2 minutes plus. So I'm going to go. I will see you all next Sunday. We might talk about child abuse because I feel like I haven't talked about child abuse. For real? Maybe that's going to be next Sunday, the 31st of March. Okay, I'll see you on next Sunday. Thank you all so much for joining me. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Spread the word. Share this video. If you haven't gone off yet, share this video. Please, please share the video. Share it widely. And I'll see you all next Sunday. Dankeschön.